it's red.
Okay.
Alright. This is the Tilton Northfield Fire Department Commissioners Meeting. It is Tuesday, January 28th, 2025. We're in the Tilton Town Hall downstairs meeting room. Those present include the three commissioners, the chief, Kathy, and Deputy Chief Sean Delaney. We are expecting Mike?
Yes, but
Okay. No members of the public here, so we'll move right on. Correspondence, do we have any?
No.
Okay, so, old business. Moderator. So this brings up a conversation, not having a moderator, but the chief had somebody that he thought would handle the meeting, but apparently there's new news on that.
Yes, there is. He's taken up marathoning and will be not around. And he'll be in Virginia at some super duper marathon, I guess, during the time of our district meeting. So I asked him if he had any thoughts. And he thought of one person and he would get back to me. But he didn't think that person would be likely. That he'd served with him on another board. And he's retired now, but
So we're in need of a moderator. I had talked to Kent Finnemore and
You don't think he'd fill in for this year?
no.
no, but he did offer a suggestion, and then he happened to call in today to Kathy about other things related to the election and whatnot, and mentioned again. So I don't know if there's anybody that we can think of that we should contact, or if we should just start calling people, and the first person who is agreeable, we swear him in.
cut him a check right away. They're obligated.
So we've got that name. I had one other person I was thinking of. I have not had any conversation, don't know if they'd be at all interested, but somebody I thought would be able to do a good job. I don't know what the process or procedure is here, and I don't know.
So at this point, whoever that person would send communication to the fire district. You guys the commissioners would appoint him, and then he would, in fact, be the moderator at that point, and would have to run the meeting. But I know we're going to have counsel there to guide him in that process. And there is training for moderator that offered by the New Hampshire Municipal Association, and I think it's coming up fairly soon, because they like trained moderators running meetings.
Well, you would think so. So,
Because that doesn't give us anybody, no one has signed up for that position either. So that would leave us in the same situation next year, because they'd only be appointed for that meeting.
is there any reason why we couldn't appoint them for?
We could, if they would be willing, yes.
Because the moderator's position, based on statute, is every 2 years,
Right.
10 years.
Right, so we could appoint them and they could do this year, next year, and then they'd have to run for 26. But they would at least cover 25 and 26 meetings.
So you got somebody interested?
No, I've got somebody in mind.
Wow. My interest.
So I guess the question is there anybody that comes to mind, or should I call these two people?
Shake every bush.
All right. Well, then tomorrow I will
Make a couple phone calls.
make a couple phone calls and see if I can.
Okay.
This is all very mysterious.
And what
Had a
happens
long conversation and no names have come up.
if we can't find one?
My understanding is that one of the commissioners would have to serve as the moderator, also with the backing of our council to make sure that everything is done.
A person could be appointed off the floor for that meeting,
They would have to agree to do it.
yes. That's what's been done in the past.
Never been to a meeting where that's happened.
Me either, but looking back through things, you know, before it was as it is today, they would have, before it became it was still the district, but it was not full-time. They used to have, district meetings, and they would appoint elect the officers that night, and the moderator that night. You don't remember?
I don't remember
I was looking back through some of the old stuff.
that. Yeah. It just strikes me funny is, why couldn't you use somebody from a different town?
They have to be a resident.
I know,
of-
but
You know, the
The
statute.
RSA,
Yeah.
the RSA,
I understand that, but God, you'd think, if you had that much trouble, everybody, you'd think they'd let them do that. I mean, there are probably people capable of doing that.
I'm sure there are.
Right, and it's kind of a neutral person.
Yeah.
You're just running the meeting, you're not.
All you're doing is running a meeting, you don't vote anything, so.
All right, well, I will make a couple calls tomorrow, and I will certainly let you know if anything positive comes out of that.
Good.
Good luck.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is the warrant. Review of the warrant, which is in your packet. So this is the one that's been updated.
This warrant is the one that has been reviewed by council and DRA and is good to go. One change you will notice is that warrant article 2 is no longer there, and that was the approval of reports, acceptance of them, so that is no longer needed, and after last year's district meeting,
Yeah.
it was removed. Once council said, yes, you can take that out. So the operating budget is warrant article 2, and then all the rest of them have moved up one number as well. Warrant article 3 has been updated to reflect the change, the increase in the ambulance billing fees.
Okay. Did the budget committee met last night?
Yes, and they approved it.
And they approved the commissioners?
Yes, they did. That's why this is good to go. The only thing now that we have to wait for is February 4th is the deadline for petition warrant articles. That's the last date that they can be received.
And they would end up at the bottom?
Yes. And it would say petition.
Can you change verbiage on here? Like, instead of abbreviating in Article 6, the ETF, can we write out what that is? Add to the fire prevention ETF.
Yes, it does say, it says it in the verbiage. I'll see if it'll fit. That may be why it's abbreviated. It might not be, there might not be enough space, but I will try.
It's repeated throughout, so I guess it doesn't matter, because they all say it.
Ten is weird, the way it's worded.
Which one, 10?
10, shall the district vote to,
That's what the attorney recommended. They changed that.
wow.
The intent is still the same, but they recommended it say shall the district.
Who's attorney?
Our attorney.
Who did we hire?
DTC.
Yeah.
Eric, Mott,
Ma'am
Mayor.
is the one who handles this.
They're the ones that work for Tilton too.
No. They don't work for Tilton or Northfield. So if the ETS will fit, I would change all of them.
Requires a ballot vote.
To change the,
After it's included.
yes, it does. You can always move that,
I would move it up, because it has to be open for an hour, right?
right?
No, it's not a bond, it doesn't have
Oh, it's not enough.
No.
to. Right, isn't that right,
I think-
Jason?
What?
I know a
The-
bond has to be open for an hour,
Yeah.
but
This doesn't it?
Which one?
Article 10,
I don't think it does.
changing the verbiage in that article.
No,
I don't know.
It's a 2/3
Well,
ballot,
it's a ballot vote, and you take time, I don't know if you take time to count the ballots, but.
but it's not like the ballot, the,
we don't have to leave
Polls
the
have
ballot
to be
box
open.
open for an hour on that.
or the.
We've done others without it. I mean,
I thought it was only related to a bond. We should
It is,
verify
I'm
that.
pretty sure it's only related to a bond. Because a ballot vote, you do it, you know, once everybody's thrown the ballot in
Yeah.
the box, they can,
I remember a couple times they've done that, not we didn't know.
yeah,
Yeah, I think you're only required to if it's a money.
yeah.
You gonna check on that?
I will.
Okay, thank you. All right, I like it. I don't have any other.
So you can say the same thing next year. So you can say the same next year.
No, we don't have to sign this one, right? We have to
No.
wait till after the hearing.
You have to wait till the hearing, and I'll have everything with us that night, so that the, you can sign, and the budget committee can sign. So all the paperwork is signed that night, hopefully.
Any other thoughts on the warrant?
And then I also gave you a copy of the itemized budget to go with that, to show that the budget committee agreed to increase the ambulance billing. That's on page 10.
I think 10's gonna get us, confusing people, because it's confusing.
I'm reading it right now, and I'm actually, the second two on the third
Yeah,
line,
I
should
know.
that be 4?
No,
well, I'm
that's what
trying to
the
think.
attorney did.
When you amend something, it should be from this to that, or was this and this.
The only thing we're adding is the wording of other emergency services billing, correct?
Yes.
Everything else is staying exactly the same.
Well, that's the revenues, but then we want to also amend to restrict the expenditures to include,
We did that last year. All those things we did last year.
we're not adding anything
Not
building
adding that,
related.
those first, other emergency services billings is the only thing we're adding.
That's the
Okay.
only thing changed.
Everything else
It's
remains the same.
okay,
It's very confusing to read. And I know what it's for.
yeah.
Right. So we should have that verbiage on a slide that we can put up on the screen with that, those 4 words being highlighted.
Yeah.
It's a very
I
simple.
capitalized, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
I
You
very
gotta
simple.
kind of know the was and the is that have been there, where you're going, where you've been.
Yeah, and there's no way to italicize it in the warrant.
No, and all I've been talking about is, because folks were asking about an amendment to, can we spend any of this on building?
I
And
would wait
that's,
till next
that'd
year.
be another whole.
And maybe if we could get the current verbiage.
The current verbiage is exactly this.
No,
without-
but we can show what the current verbiage is and then what this verbiage is.
What we had
That
requested,
might be more.
yeah, what we had requested was to restrict the revenues from ambulance billings to ambulance and other emergency services billings, and the attorneys changed it to ambulance billings and other emergency services billings, and they put it in parentheses. So,
If you do a slide with both, just highlight the new and say this
Yeah.
is the only, and so they can see that
this is the only change.
This is the only
Well,
change.
I'd be curious if that is the.
It's supposed to.
That's
right?
all that we.
Yeah, it's supposed to.
That's all we asked for, but it is.
Well, they did add, I think they added, and amended March 20th, 23, because we had it adopted in March. Yeah,
Yeah, but that's not.
that's, you know, it was just expanding that, we've amended
So
this
maybe
before.
just a read through the current verbiages, so we can confer that it's only that.
So let's see.
And then maybe we get a slide on
I
it.
already have, I have it. in the computer.
Okay.
So, you can access it. Yep.
And we're lawyers, they gotta make it as confusing as possible.
Yes.
We're gonna take the money and we're gonna put it in this fund.
Yeah. Just this money.
Yes. Okay. Anything else on that? Paul, you still reading?
No, I'm all set.
All right, can we move on to fire prevention fees?
Chief wasn't here last time. Did you get? I emailed you the packet, but does everybody have their packet? I brought enough for everybody. If they don't, if they didn't bring it,
I think it from last time.
I
Thank you.
have mine.
you have yours. So as we went over last time, that it's really the couple big things are standardizing all the fees from some are 20, some are 25, some are 30. The inspections all take the same amount of time, so we standardize the inspection, all the $30 a piece to make that standard across the board. And then remove the complete system for the heating system, since all the heating systems today are so different, there's so many multi-complex parts. If you have an appliance, it would be one fee. If you have piping, it would be another fee. If you have tank, it would be another fee. And then just to standardize that. And then the fire alarm system and the sprinkler systems. So the fire alarm system and the sprinkler systems if you have a large industrial building, large commercial building, it's just a fairer fee for the plan review, the multiple inspections, and it adds per device. So it really, it says how the bigger your system is, the more the fee is. And so everything on the third page in red is changes. So right here on the front page is what we have. The second page we went over last time was the fee study that I did, and as you can see, it's just all over the place. We could charge. We're pretty much the lowest, but we could go to the sky's the limit. And I think Guilford, and Laconia are right around about the same. Laconia spreads theirs out, and they charge per hour for their building reviews, where we just include the money in the permit.
Well, and you made that point last meeting about, some towns where the fire department's a department of the town, the fees are included in the
Building permit.
Yeah.
building permit approval process and whatnot.
Yeah.
So in looking at what the other towns charge, I'm pretty amazed that you were able to come up with what you were able to come up with. And I do think that trying to more standardize the rates is a good idea. One of the questions I had was, I'm looking through this, were there any specific ones that you were trying to put a number on that you struggled with?
I did. I think like stuff that I don't do frequently, like that's.
Amusement parks.
Yeah. Well, I just kind of I took what we had before, and then for this stuff like that. I went back and forth for a long time on the per device price and the per head price for the fire alarm system and the sprinkler system. I was trying to, because I don't want to overfee everybody, but I want to, you know, but if you're asking us to do something that is not standard that a normal resident or business, you know, that's here, you know, there should be some sort of fee assessed with it. So I kind of went back and forth on the $1 and the 75 cents per head, back and forth. And so I think, those two I probably spent the longest time, you know, going back to the study, seeing what everybody else is doing. I mean, I could have kept going, and I think if I found 10 more towns, it would have found 10 more billing ways. And I didn't want it to be complicated,
Right.
but I wanted to be able to, you know, to charge, you know, really it's, so a gas station isn't paying the same fee as a 300,000 square foot building. That's not appropriate in my opinion, and so that's,
I was going to use the example of a 6-unit apartment building versus a Home Depot.
Yes, there's Home Depot, I'm gonna have construction meetings, I'm gonna have lots of plan review, I'm gonna have meetings with engineers, architects, and, you know, with like the gas station, I went twice. You know, for the fire alarm system, I went twice. I went for a rough and I went for a final. Took each inspection, the rough took 15 minutes, the final inspection took 45 minutes. And then I'm in and out, and there's no construction meetings. Where, like a Home Depot type, I would have hours and hours and hours and hours into that. And so how do you do that? And I felt the fairest way was to charge per device. The bigger your system, the longer it's going to take me to review, the longer the inspection's going to take, and you're paying per device. I don't know if it's perfect. Looking through all the other towns that I looked at, I don't think there is a perfect system. You know, to keep the fees low enough to be fair, but to, you know, to charge for the time and the work we put into it.
And this is something, if you adopt this or accept this, that, you know, after a couple of years of going through it, we can have a more of a better picture of is this
Fine-tune it,
working,
yeah.
and fine tune it. I mean, it's not that hard to fine tune something. It's hard to fine tune something that you don't know if it's working or not yet.
And your review of this, how it seems reasonable and
Yes.
appropriate?
Yep.
Any other
Again,
thoughts?
when you look at what everybody else is doing something different, right? So it's hard to.
Was hard. One of the things I did try to do, I think, is keep the fees on the oil permits, gas permits, stuff lower. I mean, those are residents of the town who are already paying, you know, a large amount of money to get that service done. We don't want to be, you know, if you look through, there's a lot of towns that do charge a lot more than I'm proposing here for a gas and a heater. And those are quick inspections. They don't take too long. I don't think it'd be fair to, you know, much more money onto a typical resident or a single family home. Somebody's already paying taxes.
Paul? Jason?
No, it's good to go.
No, I think that, I like that it's cleaned up and
Yeah.
kind of level, you know, got some consistency to it. You can speak to every piece of it because you've been through it, you know, so any of the feedback that comes from the field is kind of already got the whole backstory on it. So I think that's fine. And if something does need to be refined, that's what we're here for, or you know, if somebody feels it's out of control, then they can make a business case and ask for an abatement.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't know. I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
as a sewer commissioner for the last 15 years, and you know, we live in a world of abatements and exceptions, and you know, got to talk about these things. But
And
this is going to work.
And these rates are 10 years old.
Yes, these were done in 2015, I believe.
All right, so well, I guess I entertain a motion to.
I'd make a motion to adopt the schedule as presented.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion that's been made and seconded. Any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Sean, for all
Thank
that
you.
work. Okay. PowerPoint presentation. So, Chief, what changes from the one you handed us before to the one you just
I
handed
went
us tonight?
through and made sure all the numbers were correct. No real changes in any of the slides or anything like that, but just to make sure that the numbers in the fields are accurate as to what they really are.
So I'll give you my impression as I ran through this in no particular order, and thank you for Did you add any slides? These are all the slides we had last year.
I actually took slides out from last year because there was a couple of slides from last year that just
Very
weren't
specific, right?
very-
So my first thing is we need to get rid of some more.
Fine with me.
And so then I started looking through it, you know, the very first page, the very first item on the very first page is the firefighter we hired and then resigned.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a good way to start. So, and then looking through, there's some redundancy. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, we put slides in here last year because we were approving the purchase of a new ambulance. So there's slides dedicated to sort of those talking points. We put slides in here because we were going to bring the 4 guys into the budget. And so there's slides relative to that. And so then it's like, all right, so what slides do we remove? And I've got a bunch of ideas there. But then I stopped and I took a step back and I said, what things do we want to cover? What items do we want to highlight with those people who show up at the district meeting? And what were some of the highlights? And in no particular order, I'm saying, all right, I think we should talk about the new legislation that passed and how it affects the money. You know, because nobody, for the most part, is going to know that happened and what it means to them as taxpayers. So I think we ought to cover that. I think we ought to get an update or a report on the building committee. You know, the survey, the results, the new charge moving forward. So I think there needs to be a building committee piece in here. What exactly that looks like, I'm not sure. I think we need to have...
A question on that is, would you want Paul Blaisdell to do another report on that as the chairman of the building committee, rather than having a slide?
Well, and that's one of the things I bring it up for, so we can decide on that. Because I think that's the way I would lean. I would have... I like your little, you have the slide with just some basic information on the building committee, and then let's have Paul speak to it.
Right.
That would be how I would do it. You know, then there's the you know, the current status, what the call volume was last year as compared to the previous year, what the balances are in the funds, what the budget looks like in those increases, achievements. Department achievements, which you have in there.
Yep.
And then something about, you know, an update on, we approved this ambulance, what's the update on it? All right, it's coming in next year. That money's already set aside. Is that money still included in that equipment and apparatus total? You know, because that'll be a question somebody will ask. When is our next purchase? When is our next major purchase? Because you might not know. So those kind of things. So you know, those were the kind of things that I think need to be in here, and some of those aren't.
So the spreadsheet that I passed out numerous times that we update all the time, that capital improvement program, that pretty much lays out, it shows the bottom line, and like we appropriated money for the ambulance last year, I actually subtracted that amount as if it was already expended on the bottom line of that spreadsheet. But if you go to the bank account, it's still in the bank account.
Yeah, right.
So in here where it's got the balance in that account, is it still in there? That's
Yes.
the real
Yes.
balance of the account.
That
Yes,
is the
that's the
real
real
balance.
balance of the account.
Right, so then we need to point out what the encumbered.
So have the real balance of the account and then say, okay, this is encumbered,
Encumbered.
this.
Yes. I
So
mean,
the actual balance,
right.
Which, unfortunately, because it takes so long to build the truck now, you know, it straddles into
That's-
another meeting.
That's,
you know?
that's why
It's-
maybe 2 meetings.
Yeah.
The reason I do it on the spreadsheet is so that I can tell you quickly what that real answer is
Yeah.
in real terms, rather than what the bank balance is.
So I guess if you want to look through the slides real quick, I'll give you my input on what I think. And then we can talk about
And as I
reordering them.
recall, you really narrated this slide.
Yes. Yeah. So on that first slide, you've got the call company. We hired 2 call
Hired.
members. Is that accurate?
For now,
I thought there was 3.
In 24,
in 2024, this is
That's accurate.
2024.
Okay.
so I have two more, well, one I just got back the physical today. Did we get the other physical back?
Yes, I
Okay.
have both, I
So we
have all
both
the
physical.
physicals. I need to speak with you tomorrow about
Yeah, so we were waiting on the physicals from
Right.
the, so, yeah, for
So-
2024. this
So the
was-
conversation on that, those would be the two did we lose members in 2024?
I know we
Because
lost,
there's a slide in here that shows only 10 members on that.
we lost, Harris Clough,
Yes.
there was one other. Well,
I'd have to go back.
I have to go back and look.
All right, so, yeah, I mean, because, it's great that we hired 2 members. But when we get to that chart showing how many members, is that 10 accurate? And then I can say
It
additionally.
was accurate at the end of the 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so it was, all right, and then I can say we're already working on 2 additional members.
We have two, yes, we have 2 additional starting.
All right, and I would eliminate that first line.
Sarah,
Sarah is technically still on our
she's still
staff.
there.
She's still there.
We are not, yeah, that's a complicated,
Yeah, it is.
She's there, but she's not.
she's not costing us any money, but she's
No.
on our roster. That is for EMT purposes through our nursing school in the spring.
Yes.
And we have
So-
2, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
We have 2 openings in the career staff right now, but that,
Hopefully tomorrow we won't.
We'll find out tomorrow.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was just.
But at December 31st, we had a full staff.
No.
No,
Mike Lewis had resigned, and Steve Smith I just got his letter the other day. He's retiring the 26th of February. But he's not working anymore. He's out done working.
he's on vacation.
Yeah.
Come on, he's been here a long time.
Over 20 years.
Yeah.
Right, so those were, again, changes to how that slide I thought should work. Training achievements, I didn't have any issues there. Here's that building committee slide, which maybe needs to be in a different place. But I would suggest we have Paul speak to that.
Do you want this closer to the front or closer to the back?
Well, I'm not sure yet. Maybe we can, anyone have a feeling on that? Like what order we want to talk about things?
I put it more towards the back there. I mean, it's, whatever, when you get the incidents and everything, put this to the back.
Yeah, probably flows better at the back.
Okay.
You should jump around from men, when you jump into the building, then you jump in the number of incidents.
Right. Well, I like talking, I think I like the, let's talk about the guys first.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the incidents.
Then we'll talk about the incidents.
Those are 2023 numbers, Chief.
2023.
Yeah, I should put 2023.
Well,
in
the
here.
number, yeah, so it
I'll just
is.
title up at the top.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, it's not just the title, it's the actual numbers too.
so the
We
you
did-
have the
we
new
did-
one?
We did 21, what was it?
95.
We did 2195, and it was over 600 inspections, I believe. I don't have the number off the top of my head.
Oh, yeah, the whole
Title.
This number appears.
Oh, okay.
The
yes.
2125
These,
wrong.
these 2 numbers are wrong.
The bar graph is
The bar graph's right.
The line
Photographs,
graph.
right? Yeah, I
Yeah.
All right, next page has the type of incidents, which again purports to the
Type of incidents.
yeah, that were EMS. And then you've got the next page where you make the point that it's over 50 years old. Aging community, aging community. Incident by days, that, I mean, I suppose you can leave it in there, you just pass over it, the calls are pretty evenly spread.
I think I originally put it in there because at the beginning of my career, days, we were looking at, we need extra people, but only during the week.
Well, I was just gonna say, there's always somebody who wants to raise their hand and say, well, why don't you just put more on weekends, or why don't you just have it during the week, or what, why don't they
Right.
take weekend? You can't. You can't take a day off.
No.
You can't go light.
If I could show that, on Saturday and Sunday, they only accounted for 4% of our call volume,
Totally different
that'd be a
conversation.
different conversation,
Yeah.
but I think that's why it was put in there.
Yeah.
So I'd say leave it in there, because it's a quick slide, you pull it up on the screen, and then you move on.
Anything can happen any day, where it does. Happens every day.
The incidents, again, all the calls only come in at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, that's obviously not true. And today you had 3 calls at the same time.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
somehow we handled them all.
Poor Timmy was standing there and he goes,
No, there's no trucks downstairs. And then you walked in. All right, the graphic slide there with the location of the calls and the percentage,
Mm-hmm.
that's all updated?
Yes.
That's fascinating. How far does the district go over to the high school, the village district?
Yeah, just before the high school.
Deer Street
Deer Street. yeah.
is the last. Deer Street's the village, and then it becomes West Tilton. Do you know where Deer Street is?
Is that the one in between the high school and
Yeah. Kettlehead.
Kettlehead.
Yeah. Then on this side, it's, well, it depends where you are. Lowe's Drive is in, after Lowe's Drive is out. And once you get up to,
Grant Street is before Lowe's Drive, right?
Yep.
The last one.
yeah, I'm School Street. I'm just trying to think
Oh.
how far up School
Up.
Street. I think it's
Are you
it's
past
Col-
Colby Road?
I don't believe.
It's just
that'd be a
past the
mile
middle
off.
school driveway.
No, on School
Oh,
Street.
School
Winter
Street.
Street.
Oh, it's where the fire pond is. Up-
Okay, yeah,
up in
yeah,
that area.
yeah. The Tilton's
The school.
Fishing pond?
Tilton School's fishing pond.
Oh, it doesn't go, that's,
Yeah.
okay. And then,
This might be a good thing to, either before the building or something like that, to give an idea where,
right, that's what I was thinking too.
oh,
Yeah, when they say, well, why don't you just,
yeah.
don't do
Right.
anything in Tilton, why don't you just do Park Street?
All right,
Well,
so
it's
let's-
the smallest number on
Yeah.
so we want to move this one to like the slide before the building committee, or, well,
Before, I mean, I put them up.
I'd have it in that neighborhood.
I
Yeah,
would too.
either before or after.
the location trends, the next page, there's some value to that, I just don't know how much. But again, if we're gonna use it as the lead-in to the building committee, then we should leave that in there.
The trend thing is important because if somebody's, I was thinking devil's advocate, but if somebody wants to
please.
just look at the map and go, sure, that's what it says this year, but what about next year? Or what about in 3
Okay,
years?
yeah.
And you can say, it's flat. This is what it's been.
All right, so we want to keep
You
those
can
slides together.
say, hey,
Yeah.
listen, this, it's, we're gonna make a commitment to a building, and if the line is flat, you could say in the next year or two, as the last few years, there will continue, or has been a steady need, looking at the map, the biggest number is the green one.
Which brings up a question. All those new houses being built over there on the Franklin town line,
Mhm.
where's the town line over there? Because when you go, is it Cross Mill Road?
It's the
It's the
river.
river.
So when you take a left on Cross Mill Road,
Yeah.
and you go up, and as soon as you hit the river,
Yeah.
that's the town line. So the river's half and, you know,
Right.
and
But
then,
how far to my right, I guess west, is Northfield?
it's not very far past the end of that road. So have you been in Millstone Drive yet?
I know, I've driven by.
So if you take a right on Millstone Drive and you drive to the end, there's a fire hydrant there, and then you take a left and it brings you up to their cistern and their little pump house. And to my knowledge, and I don't know if there's not much land left,
You
and then
can-
it becomes
You
Franklin.
can get into Franklin pretty quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they actually
So all
talked
those
about,
homes are in Northfield?
all those homes are in
I
North
think they originally wanted to bring the water in
From Franklin.
That's, yeah.
for the
and
project.
they weren't allowed to, so that's why they had to put the
The
pump
water
house in.
district said no.
So they have their own water?
They have their own water. They have I don't know if it's 30 or 40,000 gallon cistern to feed all the houses and then provide the water supply. So there's just that one fire hydrant, and it's just gravity fed. Well, there's a little pump, but basically gravity fed from that cistern down.
So that's Cross Mill.
That's the Crossmill Village, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's, Millstone,
Yeah.
Stonehenge, and right now Village.
And a lot of bad history with the town too, kind of when they started.
Yeah, there's a new developer in there that took it over probably a year and a half ago.
From Dwight?
From Dwight, yeah.
Yeah.
Dwight started, and then he sold to Souza, I believe is the name of the developer. And they're putting on pretty, actually tomorrow, I'm going, not tomorrow, Thursday, I gotta go up there and do a bunch more gas. I just,
Are they still doing ICF on the ground?
nope, they're doing, it's a traditional concrete foundation duplex.
But
So
without the foam form?
yeah, without the foam, yeah. From my knowledge,
Yeah.
I don't inspect those,
Yeah.
but I believe it's just a traditional two duplex. They're large.
Yeah.
They're very big.
And that cistern's feeding the domestic water as well?
Yes, yeah. And then they must either have one or two wells that feed that cistern at a certain,
I think there's 2 up there.
and I don't know exactly how it works, but I assume it's gonna be like, when that's done, like Cardigan Court and Kearsarge Court, they did the same thing. They have a pump system there that provides, they have sprinklers instead of the fire hydrant. But once the whole thing was done, Penachuk had to take over that to do the water testing and stuff. And I assume that same kind of thing will have to happen. If there's some third party will have to do the water testing, maintain the system, and guarantee that that system is operational. That's more of a health and building than it is a fire department thing.
The other 2 you just mentioned, where are those?
You know where the Winnisquam, it's changed the name, Winnisquam Inn now, right?
Yes.
Was the Country Lake Resort,
Yeah.
and then, so if you take that left, coming from here, and you go straight in, Tedeschi Homes had built, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's either 6 or 7 buildings in there now. There's a couple 4 families and then mostly 6 families, and then they're actually building more down around the corner now. And they have, if you go down to the right, you drive back and that's where their water supply is. And then that pumps up to the homes for the sprinkler systems.
Okay, incident by town,
It's the way it broke out this year.
what was it last year?
It's close to that.
Yeah, it was like 58, 40 something, 58, 42, I don't know.
I'd have to go back and look. I didn't.
Right. Arrival times, I think that slide should move back to the one right after the incidents. Incidents and simultaneous incidents by hours. And that slide should be there.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Mutual aid.
Move that back to the incidents as well,
Yeah, that probably should follow.
because you talked about
Those 2 should go
incidents.
together, right?
Yes.
All right, number of call firefighters. I like the slide, I'm not sure what we're saying with it as to where it should go in the slide.
Deck. Inside, where in the deck? it
Yeah,
should
where
go.
in the deck it should go.
I think the comment about this is that this is not indicative just of Tilton Northfield. This is a nationwide issue.
Right. So I don't know if this should go with the incident, if we should, keep.
Personnel changes? That was no.
Well,
No,
it helped make the case for full-time career
Right.
staff, but
Right, what is the comment on it? So
what's the,
I guess I would, if I would default to leaving it in there,
yeah.
but I guess it should go with those incident slides. I'm not sure. Maybe it goes before the, incidents, we're gonna move those 2. I guess I would leave it with that arrival on scene and the mutual aid, but I think I'd put it between those 2. And then the next slide, the number of paid call firefighter hours. Do we need to know that? We assume it's going down.
Is going down.
Yeah.
It's almost the exact same line.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think people really care.
Right, so I think I'd get rid of that slide.
Okay.
And you get into right, on the fund balance one. So we have the unassigned fund balance, the transfers, which are the ones for like the,
The warrant articles.
yeah, and that leaves a balance. And then I think to remain in policy, I think I'd reword that. And then what that policy is, X percentage, and that dollar amount?
16.667% of the voted operating budget.
But I wouldn't put them all, I wouldn't put those numbers in the same column.
No.
It's more informational, so it shouldn't be a bullet item. Or, the page needs to be laid out different.
How do you want it laid out? I did it kind of like as a math problem.
Right. Well, I think I would move maybe the apparatus Christmas fund off the slide and move it to the next slide. Other funds.
Yes, that makes sense.
But see how you did cistern and the hydrant and cistern? And then you have the note underneath it?
Yep.
I think that's how that needs to be. The policy is that it's, 16.66%, which would be this dollar amount. And then not do the math for people, just, you can do the math yourself. That number up there, that $298,000 should be 618. Obviously, it's not. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
You just want to make a note. It's not like, and maybe the bullet, maybe these have to be moved over a little bit so you have enough room.
I'll work on it.
So bullet them over one more,
Mm-hmm.
or just bullet that one over.
Do, like under the dry hydrant system, the average cost, you could do fund balance policy.
Per policy.
Per policy is this amount, should be, and then,
With maybe a note under it that how that's calculated.
yes.
The 16.66%. And then if you wanted to include under that, which leaves a shortage of, but have it be
Right.
like a note. And then depending if you have enough room, then you suppose you can leave the apparatus equipment under.
But you want a note under that, that part of that balance is for the new ambulance.
Yeah, I'm going to add that.
So if that has to be a separate slide, that would be okay.
So we've got one for the operating budget, one for the apparatus and equipment fund,
And one for all the
and
others.
one for all the others.
I don't know. So
I'll work with it and see.
so it's not confusing. Well, and then here, how you have these lined up on the next page.
They weren't.
Yeah, they're not lined up.
Well, I did this lined up because it was a math problem. These were
These are just totals.
it's just a statement.
Right.
How do you want it? Because I can do it anyway.
I just think it'd be easier to read the numbers if they.
Okay.
Lined up,
Column the numbers.
I don't even know if people can understand what that, I mean, this is pretty obvious, right?
Let's just say
What you
that's
have.
the thing, just lining all
Yeah,
those numbers up
yeah.
there. And that's what's saying, this one, if we get rid of these last two numbers,
Yeah.
move them to a note over here.
Because they're gonna look at that and say, well,
I don't know what that means,
I
right?
have no idea what that means. But this here explains everything, I mean, that, how much you got in land and building, and
You know, and then I was talking like under the hydrants and cisterns, you know, do we wanna list what we're working on there, but maybe that's just part of the presentation of the slide to mention that we've got two projects that we're working on. Any other thoughts on those? 'Cause, under the operating budget and budget increase, I think I would do those as one slide.
I would bring it together, yeah, I was thinking about it.
So proposed budget, which is the increase, and then
What are you talking about?
the operating budget in the
Yeah.
next slide.
Yeah.
I may do a,
I'll make this all one,
one slide, you know.
okay.
And I might break down wages, benefits, and insurance as three separate bullet
Yep.
items. Yeah, so maybe a space and then another bullet item. Put that whole second page in.
These are all things that we added last year, I don't know if you still want to keep them in or not.
Well,
Because every year you want to, sometimes you want to change a message,
right,
and this is just telling them the same message that I
Right.
told them last year.
right. So, you know, we put this in there because we were talking about,
Being competitive in the market, and say, listen, you're only paying $21 an hour, and
Right.
this is what somebody has to go through
right.
just to get to that.
Yeah, so, you know, and it's not to minimize the importance of all the training our guys have. All right, do we need any of this?
I don't think so, but it was in there last year, and then
Right.
when you had the opportunity to keep it or throw it.
So that would be my thought on all those pages. Then you get to the incidents. Oh, we already had the chart earlier on the
Right.
incidents. If we want to break down the ambulance transports, then that should be on that earlier slide with the incidents.
On the, going back to the ones with the certifications,
Yeah.
and, what's the number in parentheses? Is that just how many?
How many we currently
have.
have in that, with those
Yeah,
certifications.
okay.
So all these are going away.
Yep. And now we get to the instance, and
Well, the only other slide in that back part that interests me is the ambulance incidents,
Okay.
ambulance transport. And I was wondering, can you include that in the chart that shows the incidents?
on this,
Yeah, number of incidents.
I can add it,
Can
you can
you-
add another,
can you add a line
line
that
for
just shows the-
ambulance transport?
I'm not a big,
Are you talking about this page?
no, this,
I know, but he's also got this one.
Revenue and ambulance
It's
transport.
after revenues, ambulance transports and ambulance revenues. It's one right after that.
This one. So the information is there, it's just in a different slide. This,
well, do we need, I guess I care less about the revenue, other than to show how much revenue it was. I mean, do we need to show that it's been increasing?
I don't.
But the incidents, they're increasing.
Right.
This specifically showing transports and revenues.
I know, what others think? I was just thinking, of this line, this many of them are ambulance transports. But I mean, ambulance transports isn't even because we make so many calls that we don't transport.
Right.
So,
Well, so I have the pie thing that shows you how many EMS incidents we responded to. There's a difference between responding to and transporting. There's that delta, which is somewhere around 500.
so is that information? Now I'm thinking about it. Well, then why don't we keep the revenue and transport trend and put it right after the incident?
Does it bear any significance on why we're changing the language of the fund?
No.
Other fees, other services, because it
Not
says
really.
ambulance charges and other fees now. Are we considering charging for things that aren't ambulance related?
Well, yeah, sometimes like when you're at use a car accident scene where you're not providing any ambulance services.
Somebody may ask that question.
Yeah.
Why, what are we charging for? And
Motor vehicle.
there may be a slide that picks up on the fact that, well, look at not everybody that you respond to is a transport. There's other things going on. But the information's important, I think. I think there's something here that speaks to that warrant article.
Can we show or that's very good.
Somebody's going to get up and say, well, why do we need to change it at all?
Because you can show how much money we've collected, or we talked about the revenue that was coming in that was not transport related.
Right. It turned out
So can we turn that into a slide, or do we just talk about it when we're on the slide? Yeah, let's see if we can. Maybe you can think about that. Because we can certainly talk about that.
It's compared to ambulance revenue. Ambulance revenue this year was $635,000. The other revenue that we collected, which doesn't go towards this year because it goes to offset the tax rate, or into the unassigned fund balance because we didn't have the language to put it in here. It was like $22,000 or $26,000 or something like that.
Not a lot.
It's not a lot of money, but
I think people ought to, it'd be nice to explain to them so they know
Right.
that you made this amount, we didn't transport it, going to whatever. And how,
And do we anticipate that that amount will grow? Or is it
Well,
always going to be?
maybe not. See, I have other legislation that I'm working on getting it so that the police departments have to give us information that they aren't required to by right now. So if we can't get certain information, it's very hard for us to bill. And so that's, I think it's HB, I forget the number of it, but it's already had one hearing. And they had a bunch of questions, so I don't know where it's going to go from there. There's like 7 categories of why someone can get information from a police department on the people involved, the car involved, insurance, and all that kind of stuff. Fire departments is not on the list. Lawyers can get it, tow truck companies can get it, people from different estates can get it and stuff like that. We're just not on the list. And I just said, well, just put us on the list so that we can
Right.
get it.
Well, then I would suggest that we, at minimum, we move this revenue and transport trends. And I might switch those words around, transport and revenue trends. This is mine. And I put that up after the incidents.
Even though that $27,000 isn't a big number, it's ironically close to 4% of the big number of the ambulance revenue. And our budget increase was 4%, so it's important to pick up a nickel once in a while. because our budgets, things continue to cost more, our budget continues to increase.
As you know, I'm always looking to pick up a nickel.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And if it's we had a 4% increase in our operating budget, then it's important that if somebody says, well, why do we need to change this language anyway? Well, because there's money here that, we're
Right.
trying to capture. We
So-
have the ability to do so, and
Adam, if we can come up with another slide for that, I would put it immediately after this slide, which I would move up towards the front where the instant slide is. If not, at least we can talk about it. And then I'd get rid of all the other slides. And maybe we need to have a ending slide. Thank you for, that's my take.
You don't mean this incident slide, you mean
No,
the one up
the
front,
one with the graph.
the graph, yeah.
Not that one.
Not that one. Not that one. Keep this one. Let me grab it. You mean the incidents that shows the time of day, that one?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
And then my only other thought, well, I shouldn't say my only other, because I'll come up with a few more. Well, one of my thoughts was, how do we put in here just an update on the new legislation and its impact on getting the money coming to us instead of to the insuree?
Well, that legislation went into effect in September. And only for new policies or on the renewal of the policy date, of the date of the policy. So we really don't have good data on that legislation yet. It's just really been enacted. We've only got like 4 months of data. So there are people that are still getting checks to the client rather than the provider because their policy
taken
hasn't
effect.
renewed yet.
But I was thinking of it more from, the fire service in New Hampshire is moving forward with trying to better reimburse fire departments.
I have, I'm working on these legislative bills right now, and these are kind of descriptions of what's going on with them and stuff like that.
So I was
The
just trying to think
main
about.
bill that we need to get passed is the minimum that the insurance companies will pay the fire department,
The rate.
the rate. And so right now, HB 725, which I'm in favor of, is the minimum, the lesser of these three. The rate set by you guys, 325% of the Medicare rate, or the ambulance provider's billed charges. So if our charged rate is less than anything else, that's what we would be getting. So there's three other bills here. They're going to end up in conference, and they're going to try and combine the best of all of them and try and get that through the House. And then if it passes the House, then it's going to go cross over to the Senate. The Senate also has ambulance bills in legislation right now, which I'm working with Senator Prentice on that one. And it mimics one of these bills, but they're different, and so it's going to take a year because of the way the legislature works.
right. They want it to be each side of the house wants it to be their own idea.
And it's funny, because right now, when it's in the House or the Senate, excuse me, it's usually a Democrat or a Republican sponsors the bill, and they try and get, collaboration. But it's a fight between the Democrats and the Republicans, usually between whether a bill passes or not. Once it's passed and it goes to the other house, then it's not a Democrat or Republican issue. It's like, I don't want the House bill version to pass. I want the Senate
Right.
version.
That's
And
what
so
I mean.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
it gets kind of frustrating.
Well, and maybe it's just, you know, maybe it's not germane to the meeting, but I find it, you know, positive that we're proactively trying to improve, you know, the appropriateness of, you pay a lot of money for medical insurance, and
And in the end of this, we want to eliminate balance billing. We don't want to have to be balance billing people for beyond what their contract is allowing. They'll still be responsible for co-pays and deductibles. That's always going to be part of any balance billing if there are any due for those. Some contracts, there is no co-pay for ambulance. Some contracts there are, and some contracts there is a deductible that you have to meet depending upon the terms of your personal contract with your healthcare provider.
all right, well, maybe there isn't a slide for that.
I think it's too complicated
Okay.
right now to do a slide for that.
Okay.
What I will say is that our personnel have been very diligent in doing what we need to do to have better collections, getting signatures and things like that. That is really key in allowing our ambulance billing company to be able to get the appropriate payments. If you don't have the data in your patient care report, you get skipped.
Right, anything else on that?
No.
All right. Perfect, so. Maybe if you get a chance to work on that, we can look it over and.
I developed this, this is a talking point for other fire chiefs. Me and Chief Hunter from Bedford put this together, and I can get this to you. I'll get you a copy of this so you can read it, so maybe have a better understanding of what's going on. I guess the only other thing I would have to say, I've been in contact with Lorero. I approved a zero fund contract amendment, and basically all that did was move surveying of property closer to the front of the project and cost estimations of the buildings further down the line of the project, because they need to do the surveys to figure out.
What shape the building's gonna be.
Yes. I hope to have more,
If you have-
another meeting with them, and the email I had with them was on or before the 11th of February. So they're working on it. We just can't see it.
Okay. Anything else on that? Should we move to review of minutes? You should have a copy there.
Everybody has a copy.
Where?
I put it in your packet.
So it should be the January 14th minutes.
Yes. Did you not get to that packet?
I just have one concern on page
Oh, 4, budget.
So well, it's actually the very last sentence on page 3 that runs across onto page 4. So we're talking about the new hires. We start them doing ride time of 4 hours with each shift, and then there's some time with the deputy and Tom they do. I'm not sure what that's supposed to say.
Tom Bolligo. So I will change that right now, sorry.
I wasn't sure what that meant.
Oops. Guess I should have read them.
And then the very next paragraph. Discussion ensued about cost of training, Deputy Bellini explained it is not, we typically do not send a brand new person, that's not,
It should say that we
there's
typically
extra
do
words
not.
in there too.
Thank you. Are those the only two things you found?
Those are the only two things I got.
Wow, I'm impressed.
Well, I'm not doing grammar and spelling or anything like that.
That's okay.
I do minutes for a club and send them off to a retired IRS verbiage specialist. He finds all kinds of things.
I'm usually very concise about that, but I must have got interrupted at those two locations.
It's probably me coming in to ask questions.
Always.
Interrupted is the order of the day, every day it seems.
Yeah, but for it to be that bad, it was a real long interruption.
After I do this, I'll send this back to you so that you see that it's really what you intended.
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes, public minutes, 1/14/25 as rewritten.
Second.
All right, we have a motion made and seconded. Any other discussion, corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
These were non-public.
Make a motion, we accept the non-public minutes of January 14th, 2025 as presented.
Second.
All right, and motion's made and seconded. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, review and sign Commissioner's questionnaire. I have that somewhere. Now, this is the document for the, did you put in all those notes?
I did not. I just printed it off. I had printed it off prior to.
You see that in your email?
I did, I read all of, yeah.
All right, so,
Do we each do one, or we doing it together?
Yeah. They request the chairman of the board sign it,
Oh.
so you can do it together,
That's
or
like,
he
I
can
just didn't
do
know if
it,
it was like
or,
a joint thing like the other stuff where we all sign. I'm fine with either way, it doesn't matter. They probably, the less paperwork, the less they're gonna charge us hours.
all right, well, I guess we may need to review this because, no, question number one, do you have any knowledge of any fraud or suspicions of fraud affecting your entity? And I have to say yes.
which is fine.
So just, what happened was,
Oh. then I'll have knowledge of it, and I'll say yes.
with the stipend that the commissioners receive, my stipend was direct deposited into my checking account,
Oh,
or wasn't.
or,
So Kathy had received a updated
Direct deposit?
direct deposit request
Yeah.
that looked like it came from me, and deposited the money in
It wasn't him.
somewhere.
oh,
So that necessitated a discussion with the police department and an interview, and there hasn't been any results back from that.
wow.
But, so the district had to write off, or, write off, but the $1,800 and however many dollars,
Right.
and then reissue a check. So,
Paper check.
Yeah.
paper check.
It
So-
was, $1,847.
So that needs to be detailed here.
So the money went somewhere.
Somewhere, yes.
Some bank no one's ever heard of,
Yeah.
until PDR investigated.
We had that happen 2 days ago. We get he sent a bill, looked like a real bill, and it was approved by the store manager. It was an email to write a check for 25 grand, and it was sent.
Oh, no.
Luckily, the store manager found it, and she said it looked like everything was in her name and everything, but she never thought it made it, made it to go ahead to do that. And luckily, they stopped it just in time. 25 grand.
Wow.
I mean,
I
this,
don't feel so bad.
So a sidebar to this would be, we need to come up with a policy or an
Policy.
addition to one of our current policies.
It'll be a policy for direct deposits, how they're handled. And what it will say, basically what it's gonna say is that if you have direct deposit, you need to come into the office
Sign a wedding signature form
and
or something.
do it
Yeah.
in person
Yeah.
to make changes.
So I was, I didn't look through all the policies to see if there was someplace we could add it. But you said
It'll be a,
It'll be a new one.
It'll be a new policy, it'll be an administrative policy, it won't be in the personal policy meeting probably.
Okay. So that'll be forthcoming?
That will be forthcoming, the next meeting.
now you don't have to have, I have direct deposit, I don't want a direct deposit.
No, yours is always a paper check.
Okay, so I'll have to detail that here in question number 1. And then, I don't know if you've read through this. Everything else to me seems pretty straightforward. Have you received communication from employees, former employees, regulators, or others alleging fraud? Is that everybody in the organization, or is that just the 3 of us who are signing this?
Say what? May I read that question?
It says for our employees.
No, this is to members of the board.
Right.
Have you received, so do I interpret that
Okay,
as the 3 of
so-
us?
What you would have received, well, I didn't email or anything, but I communicated that yes, we had some fraud.
So that would be in relation to the above.
Yes.
Okay. Have you identified any specific risk of fraud within the entity? So do we need to then
Related to the above.
Related to-
See also.
Has the board adopted a universal code of ethics for members and employees to follow? Yes.
Yes.
Please furnish.
Oh, I'm gonna have to find it. Okay.
Yes. If yes, does
It'll be
this,
a personal policy meeting or something.
Yes.
Right in the beginning of that.
Yeah.
if yes, does the document prohibit elected officials and employees from doing business with the district? I believe it does. I think I read that somewhere there.
It rings a bell.
Have you or any related party of yours had any interest, direct or indirect, in any of the following transactions or pending or incomplete transactions since January 1, 2024, to which the district or any retirement savings, pension, or other similar plans was or is to be a party. And then there's a whole bunch of categories here. Sale, purchase, exchange, or lease of property. I think all these are no. Receiving or furnishing of goods, services, or facilities, transfer or receipt of income or assets, maintenance of bank balances as compensating balances for the benefit of others, other transactions. I think those are all no.
Yeah.
Does the board have any concerns about known related party relationships? Does the board formally authorize all disbursements, both vendor and payroll, prior to the release of these funds? Well, we do
Vendors.
disbursement for vendors, but not payroll.
Right. Payroll, the authority for processing payroll is given to the chief and the deputy because that's a weekly occurrence and you guys don't want to meet weekly.
So does the board formally authorize all disbursements, both vendor and payroll?
Through you, for the payroll, you authorize the chief to act in your stead.
So we have to answer that question no and then explain. If
Yes.
the answer above is no, please describe your knowledge of how disbursements are approved within the system. All right. Describe how the board stays informed of the latest changes in laws and regulations pertaining to the district.
We inform you.
All right. Does the board Does the board review comparative reports of estimated and actual revenues and appropriations and expenditures?
Yes.
Yes, we do, and we do it monthly.
Yes.
What procedure does the board follow in reviewing or using these reports? For example, does the board normally meet with the department heads as part of the process? We review at monthly meetings with
Yes.
the chief and administrator. Has the board approved a disaster recovery plan in event of loss or interruption of IT function? We do have
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Please describe how financial data is backed up, how often does this occur, and where is the backup maintained?
Daily in the cloud. We have it, QuickBooks and Brightworks, and they back it up nightly in the cloud.
And it works. As we found out the other day.
Yes.
Right, is there a written investment policy adopted?
Yes.
Yes,
When was the policy last reviewed?
it's annual, isn't it? Is that one of the ones that
Yeah, I
they
think
sign
I-
annually?
I think I looked it up,
I think so.
and we approved it,
Yes.
so we do that in April. It was last approved April 2024.
Right, because of the new board.
Does the board have knowledge of any funds or bank accounts that are not in custody of the treasurer? I said no.
Well, there's
Well, the trust funds,
The trust funds are with the Northfield trustees.
Yes, provide the name and custodian of account.
that would be the trustees for the trust funds of the town of Northfield.
Now, who is that? You s-
They're elected, aren't they?
They should be.
Yeah.
Does the district have knowledge of any co-funding activities?
No.
It's the definition of co-funding activities.
If so, please indicate what they are, on what websites they are maintained, and who is responsible for them, and please provide a copy of your co-funding policy.
I would say no, because I'm not aware of anything like that.
All right, for each board member, please provide below the years of service and a brief description of his or her background. Example, Jane Doe, 5 years on board, teacher for 20 years at high school. Blah, blah, blah.
The answer to your question about the trustees is Christine Revelin, Morris Boudreau, and Ken Triple.
Okay. Okay. Paul Ozier, how long have you been on the board?
Couple days. I don't know.
20+ years,
No,
10+
no,
years? What
I
is it?
think it's,
You've been on the board since I've been here.
how long have you been here?
I've been here 15 years.
So, and it's a little longer than that, I know it is.
Yeah,
So I think it was around 18 years.
because I started in
Term limits.
2000.
Somewhere around 18.
You were still in the call company in 06.
2009.
I didn't know that. 2006, you were in the call company. And then
And
you
you got
retired
on board.
shortly after I got hired. And then shortly after that, you got, yeah. 18.
And what should I put for a real simple background?
Flooring. Flooring.
Put sales. Flooring sales.
I've been here since 2008.
And you're part of the management there, aren't you?
Huh?
And so you're part of the management there, aren't you?
I am the vice president of the company and
Co-owner.
part owner. Very small part.
Jason, what do you want me to write?
10 months. Right?
Yeah. Any words of wisdom?
I'm glad
Put
we have fun.
7 years in manager state of New Hampshire, right? I don't know how far do they need? Usually they have a time window of how far back they wanna.
They don't say that.
Yeah.
And brief, they have brief,
Yeah,
bolded and
brief's
italic.
good.
I mean, bolded and underlined.
They don't need my whole elevator story.
So what did you say, 7 years at the state?
State,
Time flies, doesn't it?
yeah. That one did.
What's the big seller now?
What's that?
What's the big seller?
I'm backed up.
Did you email this to me?
Vehicle,
I did.
yeah.
All right, so I can
Dumping
fill
all
it out
those chargers
appropriately.
on it, so
and
we're going
get
to
it back to
Tahoe.
The
you.
ones with no frames?
Sure.
All right, can I
Uh,
take that one that you just have?
Some, yeah, because they don't look at the parts
Does the,
anymore.
does the
Right.
what you
National.
emailed me allow me to type on the spaces?
That's too bad. It's a hole like this. It's
I
repairable. You and I
don't-
could do that and drive it and get a
Did I
sticker,
send you
but
the Word
state
doc
police,
or
they
the
want the
PDF?
whole
I don't.
frame rail
I
done.
don't
Frame
know
rail.
why
You know, if you're going 120 up the highway,
Do you want me
kinda
to
want
take
things
your
go straight.
and type it and?
I get it.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of stuff
And
that's
it's
gonna fill
one,
in,
one
but
frame rail, one
Oh.
side. You know, one.
do you feel comfortable
It's a
putting in the
global
verbiage?
problem. Should have, you know, it's a flaw in the system.
those
They should have been
first few
oiling
items.
or treating or.
Yes.
Yeah, when they got them, they knew that,
Yes.
that issue, they should have
Yeah.
tried
If you
that.
wanna work on that, if you have. any
I'll work on it
questions,
and pop it off,
yeah.
and
It'd be
you can
interesting
approve it
to
or
see
not,
that
and
state
then,
full of Tahoes
you know,
now.
I'll go with what you've got, and then you just return it back.
Those are gonna be like going crazy up the highway, higher center of gravity, and I wonder,
It won't go like a Charger.
no.
I mean, it's a good thing.
All right, so review and sign Commissioner's questionnaire. All right, only other thing is, that I have is the next meeting is earlier, it's 5 o'clock
The
instead of
next
5:30.
meeting is at 5 o'clock because that's the night of the public hearings. And
Yeah.
you only have not even an hour for that meeting because the public hearings start at 6.
And that's gonna be over at PD,
PD.
okay?
All right,
What day is that?
The 11th, that's a Tuesday.
I thought it was the 4th. The 11th?
It's the 11th.
Oh, okay. That's better, the 4th. I can cut.
So what are you bringing for handouts? We'll bring the warrant and the budget,
Yes.
that's all we need to bring, right?
That should be all we need. I mean, the chief will bring, so that you can
Regular stuff.
review
But, yeah, so we
the
can answer
regular
the
stuff.
questions.
Yeah.
That's when they start asking questions about fund balances and this, that, and the other thing.
Well, we're not gonna have any answers on that,
Yeah.
really, per se.
You could say we're December ended.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
as of December 31st.
This is where we are.
This is the year, you know.
Okay. Anything else that we need to prepare for that.
So, there was one thing I wanted to just quickly let you know, that on the first page of the itemized budget, we added a line, because when you look at the appropriations for 2024 and the amount raised by the towns, the amount appropriated from the towns is less, because DRA took unanticipated revenues and applied it towards what the towns owed.
Oh.
So that was $37,119. I saw that I had not put in the correct number to make it equal
This
to
is the
35,509.
38,589.
Yeah, that's more than what they took, because
So-
it has to come back to what was voted,
Unanticipated revenue.
used to offset appropriations,
Where did that revenue come from?
Sale of the rescue and
sale of
pickup
rescue
truck.
and stuff.
So they put it in that line.
They used
We
it to
added,
offset the.
yeah, they used it to offset, so
Taxes.
we put that line in so that people, it wouldn't say, well, why was the amount less? And
Was it-
that's why.
What? Okay, and it was 300, what was the total of 3,555,000?
3555.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Perfect.
We wanted everything to match up.
I spoke about that in the, my chief's report that's going in the town report.
Okay, thank you.
So that number will be correct as well.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. It is now 7 p.m.
We'll send out a calendar, Kathy. So
I
can-
will, yes.
Time to, so I can leave early.